Hello everyone, very good evening and welcome to StudyIQ IAS English. I hope that everybody is eagerly waiting for this session, and in this session today we are going to discuss about the Dravidian architecture. In fact, Dravidian architecture itself, just a second guys, I think a voice is doing some echo and okay. So Dravidian architecture itself is actually quite vast, quite enormous, as I have discussed that these particular architectural methods, they are several sub-classifications. There are several sub-classifications like, if we see the Cholas, we have the Pallavas, okay, we have the Vijayanagar and we have the Nayaka style, and last but not the least, we also have quite significant contribution from the Rashtrakuta as well. However, today we will be doing primarily about the Pallav architecture. We will be covering up the Vijayanagar and also we will be doing the Nayaka style of temple architecture in Dravidian style. For the Cholas, we need a separate lecture because they have enormously contributed to the temple architecture. So we will be doing that topic tomorrow. Good evening everyone. Kindly make sure that you are sharing this session with your friends and your co-aspirants, fellow aspirants as well. But before proceeding, let me tell you something very important, that we are actually launching our new morning batches in September from 11th of September, which will be available in bilingual in English as well as in pure Hindi, right? So in case if anybody among you or your friends or your knowns, if they are preparing for Civil Services Examination 2024, then this is the best time to start the preparation, because if they will think further, if they will delay further, it will be quite late. So do not delay it, join these batches, and for the detail regarding the various features etc., you can check our application or you can check our website. In case if you choose any course related to P2I, any batch, do not forget to use this code ASR live. That will be giving you the maximum discount. Now moving to the topic, Dravidian school of temple architecture or Dravidian style of temple architecture. Basically, what is the meaning of the word Dravidian? First of all, Dravidian, it indicates the southern part of India, okay, the southern parts of India. And when we talk about the southern parts of India, remember that the architecture is a byproduct of the geographical and climatic conditions, because the geographical and climatic conditions, they determine the raw materials, they determine the availability of the type of soil, type of stones and workability etc. Therefore, when you see the Gangetic plains, you will find the brick temples, brick architecture, because the soil is available there. Similarly in Bengal, the soil only is available there, no stones are there, so it will be extremely uneconomical to make the stone temples. Similarly, if you see the Himalayan region or the Plateau region, you will find the plenty of the stone temples. Similarly, my dear friends, in the southern India, when you observe, you will find the granite stone made temples in the far southern region of our country. Not only granite, but also the sandstones and also the basaltic stones have been used profusely to construct the temples on a massive scale. The earliest temple developments in the Dravidian architecture, as we have already discussed the stages of temple development, where I had told you that the Pallava rulers, namely Mahendravarman, right, namely Mahendravarman and Narasimhavarman first, okay, Narasimhavarman first, also known as Mahamal or Mamal. These two were the two early pioneers of the Pallava style of temple architecture. However, later on, the Pallavas will be further developing to construct the structural temples, that is also known as the freestanding temples. Right, everybody? So up to this point we have already discussed in the previous few lectures where we had already covered this topic. Now, when we talk specifically about the Dravidian architecture, who are the flag bearers, the most important representatives of this architecture? Pallavas and Cholas. Why? Because the Vijayanagar temple architecture, that is slightly different from the typical narratives, typical standards set by this school. Similarly, the Nayakas, they are also slightly different. So typical representatives are Pallavas and Cholas. Now, when we talk about the features, how are we saying that what is the typical style? Dravidian temples were surrounded by the high boundary walls, and this same boundary wall which was absent in the Nagara style we have already covered in the yesterday's lecture, right? Nagara temples, they did not have any presence of water bodies within the premise of temple because they had no premise, no boundary wall in their temple architecture, which is present in the Dravidian architecture. Apart from that, the entrance, if there is no boundary wall, then there is no question of the entrance at the boundary gate in the Nagara style. But in Dravidian style, we already have the entrance towers. Okay, we have the entrance towers at the boundary itself, that is called as the Gopuram. That is called as the Gopuram. Okay, so it is like, suppose if this is the entire boundary, where we have this temple constructed, then on the boundary you will have this gate, and on the gate you will have the tower. Okay, so that is called as the Gopuram. Now, some things we also have the similar, to the Nagara style. For example, the presence of the Panchayatan style, Panchayatan configuration of the deities, Panchayatan arrangement of the deities, which I had already discussed, that it is basically a crucified plan of the sitting, where we have this central position to the chief deity, and on the four corners in front of him there are the four distinct deities present as additional ones. So this is the pattern of the Panchayatan. Panchayatan pattern is also possible by this method, where the chief deity is centrally located and the four additional abodes of the four additional deities, right, they are constructed on the four different corners. Okay, everybody, so these are both the variations of the Panchayatan style. So there could be a question in the prelims examination that Panchayatan style is present only in the Nagara, only in the Nagara style. That is a wrong statement. Panchayatan style is present in both Nagar as well as in Dravidian style. I hope you will be able to understand this difference. Now, apart from that, when we were seeing the top of the spire, I hope you remember the spire. What is the spire? The tower of the temple. The top of the spire in the Nagara style, that was curvilinear in the shape. Remember the figure, yesterday I had discussed that with you. If you have not seen that lecture, please go after this, it is over, and watch that lecture as well. So curvilinear tower is there, on the top of which the flower like disc is kept, the flower like disc which is called as amalak, okay. But here we do not have the curvilinear structure, rather we have the pyramidal structure. So this is like a stepped pyramid, and on the top of which we do not have amalak. Rather we have what? We have the capstone, right? Capstone, which is in the form of octagon, in the form of octagon. Okay, so that is exactly, only that top portion is called shikhar. Whereas rest of the tower is called vimana. If you can look at this particular picture, then it will become absolutely clear to all of you that I am talking about this pyramidal shape structure, and from this point up to the entire base, it is called viman. and only the top of the portion, top of the Vimana, that is called as Shikhar. Only this is called as a Shikhar. Whereas in the North Indian temple style, the entire tower was called Shikhar, if you remember that. After that, let us begin with the entrance gate. So this is the entrance gate where we have a huge tower constructed. This tower is called as Gopuram. After that, we have the Bali Pitham. Bali Pitham is not meant for sacrificing, rather it is meant for offering, However, in the later periods, we also saw that the rituals of slaughtering the animal in the name of sacrifice, even that also started at the Bali Pitham. After that, we have the Dhwaja Stambham. Okay, Dhwaja Stambham, where the flag of the temple that is flying high. Then we have the Dwarpalas, right? Dwarpalas were basically the additional sculptural deities which were constructed at the very initial point of the entrance, right? Dwarpala images are also present on the top of this Gopuram, as well as on the stair sides, on the side stairs, as well as side pillars near the stair in the main block of the temple. After that, we have this is the mandap. Remember that this is the mandap, which is the portico style, the portico style of mandap. Okay everyone, portico style of mandap. Then we have the covered mandap, and this is called as the Vahan mandap. Why so? Because just under this we have the Vahan of the god. What is the Vahan? For example, in case if it is a Shiva temple, then the Vahan would be Nandi, or if it is a Ganesha temple, the Vahan would be Mushak, and similarly for other deities, right? Then we have the Mahamandap, and after that there is the main temple tower having the Vimana, and just underneath we have the Sanctum Sanctorum. Sanctum Sanctorum means the Garbhagriha of the temple. Alright, this is enclosed, this entire temple complex is enclosed within a boundary which also has several additional structures like the Nritya Mandap or Natya Mandap, Bhoga Mandap. Different structures are there. In fact, Natya Shalas are also there, which means that in the southern India, Dravidian temple style, remember this point, this is exam worthy, okay. Dravidian temple styles, Dravidian temples, they used to be the centers of learning, okay, centers of learning of the arts and sciences, sciences of the nature. So basically, we have the evidences that the temples, particularly during the Pallava rule or during the Chola rule, we had the evidence that the temples were the center of learning. All right everyone, they were also the center of local administration. All right, local administration. They were the center of tax collection, and last but not the least, they were also the cultural centers of the entire region. This is why several types of the dances, this is why accumulation of wealth was there, this is why the temples which were educational centers, okay, which were educational centers called as Ghatika, that is also, such type of temples are also present in the Pallava dynasty or in the Pallava era. Okay, so this is something which has been asked by UPSC. In fact, UPSC keeps asking regularly about the various uses of the temples in different temple architectural styles. So such type of diversified uses were actually possible in the Dravidian architecture as well as in the Kalinga architecture. And why so? Because both of them, they had the secured campus, they had the enormous institutional significance when it comes to the utility of the temple structure. Now moving further, as I have already described the details like the presence of the additional sculptures or presence of the water tank, etc. So only that is written here, right? And one more thing which is very, very important, that the example of the classical Dravidian temple that you will find only in the Chola and the Pallava architecture. So today we will learn about Pallava architecture and about few more important features like Vijayanagar and Nayaka architecture. Tomorrow we will be doing Cholas separately. Okay. So let us start the Pallava architecture. When we talk about the Pallava architecture, remember that there are four distinct phases. The first phase is called as the Mahendravarman phase. Second phase is called as Mamalla, right? Mamalla phase. Third phase is called as Rajsimha, right? Rajsimha phase. And fourth is called as the Nandivarman phase. So what is the difference among all these? When we talk about the Mahendravarman phase, guys, remember that it was only famous for the cave mandapas, okay, cave mandapas, or simply the rock cut caves with slightly beautified, slightly decorated sculptures on the wall of the caves that we have already seen in the previous lectures. When we talk about the Mamalla phase or Mahamalla phase, we have two distinct features. The one is the mandapas, okay, mandapas with the open art gallery, and second is the rathas, the monolithic rathas, okay, monolithic rathas. These two specialities we have already covered in the previous lectures. Now when we talk about the Rajasimha style and Nandivarman style, guys, these both are very important to understand because they are amongst the earliest structural temples, okay, for the Dravidian architecture. I hope it is understood by everybody. Now when we understand that Dravidian architecture actually started by the Rajasimha style of temple, then we should know that which could have been the earliest temple. If suppose there is a question which has a statement that Virupaksha temple was the earliest example of Dravidian temple architecture, do we think that this statement should be correct? I don't think so, because Virupaksha temple was constructed by the Vijayanagar Empire. However, we are seeing that the Pallavas they are much earlier than the Vijayanagar rulers. So therefore, whichever temples they might have constructed, that would be naturally amongst the earliest. Here let me tell you, amongst the earliest temples we have the example of the Shore temple of Mahabalipuram, and after that we have the Kailash temple of Kanchi. These both temples were actually constructed by Rajsimheshwar, or also known as Rajsimha, okay, Rajsimha, also known as Narasimhavarman II. So any of these names, if you see any of these names, quickly choose that name if the question is asking that who was the pioneer of the structural Dravidian temple architecture. This gentleman was the pioneer of the structural Dravidian temple architecture. Got it, everyone? Now, when we talk about this particular temple, look at the picture behind me. It is the Rajsimheshwar temple, right? Rajsimheshwar temple, or simply the Kailashnathara temple at Kanchipuram. That was the capital city of the Pallavas, raised badly by the Chalukya ruler. Remember that Chalukya ruler, whose name was Pulakeshin II. He had defeated Mahendra Varman. After that, Vikramaditya VI came at Vikramaditya II. Sorry, then he defeated the Rajsimha. Now, when we talk about the Nandivarman style of architecture, then what happened as compared to the Rajsimha, this phase of architecture saw decline in the status, in the standard of construction, in the grandness as well as the grandeur of the structure. Everything declined because Pallavas themselves had started declining due to the emergence of the other contemporary dynasties. When we talk about the examples of this period, we have the Mukteshwar temple, Matangeshwar temple, etc. Got it? Now let us see some of the selected examples and little bit details about them. Shore temple, Mahabalipuram. When we talk about the Shore temple at Mahabalipuram, shore means the coast of the ocean or the tat in Hindi, right? So basically, when we talk about the Shore temple, the architectural creations that initiate in this period, they would be followed even in the subsequent periods. Not only that, they are called as the 7 pagodas or the Saptarathas. Remember, what is the name? Saptarathas or 7 pagodas. The name is given by Marco Polo, the famous Italian traveler. In fact, any subsequent traveler who had visited this temple, they called it by different names. But the most important difference in the temples constructed by Narsinghavarman I or Mamalla and the temples constructed by Narsinghavarman II, that is a Shore temple here, that those were the monolithic rathas, whereas this particular temple, that is the structural temple. That is the structural temple. I am talking about this particular temple. Remember that. You can see the huge number of the animal figures, huge number of the cows, in fact the bulls sitting on all over the boundary sides alongside this temple. Not only that, you can also see the space which is additionally kept here, and probably this might be having some ritualistic significance, like used for the sacrifices or used for any additional purpose. And the typical structure you can see here, the speciality of Pallava temples was that they did not use any adhesives to join the different parts of the temple. They simply relied upon the interlocking pattern between two stones. How great, right? Because no adhesives are found, in fact, in these stones which might be used to put them or keep them together for thousands of years, but only by using the natural force, natural strength of the entire stone piece, the temples are surviving. Okay, so this Shore temple is basically the combination of the three shrines, right? Dedicated to the main shrine is dedicated to Shiva. However, the other shrines are dedicated to Vishnu, right? Vishnu and Shakti. Okay, so overall we can say that the three major sects of the classical Brahmanical religion or Hinduism, Shaivism, Shaktism and Vaishnavism, they are all present in their essence in this temple. But the main temple is actually related to Lord Shiva, so therefore it is regarded as a Shiva temple, Alright. Which stone has been used in construction? As I told you, logically granite has been used. Okay, so do not get confused. Do not get confused. Granite is the stone that is used. UPSC has a trend to ask the questions upon the basis of the raw materials which have been utilized to construct the temples. Here the granite is used. However, in case of Ellora temple, Kailasnath temple, we will see that there is the use of basalt, right? Basaltic rocks, not granite. Both are different. Another outstanding feature of this temple, that is the lion monolith, which is present in the same compound, and this looks very, very well carved and very well sculpted type of workpiece. In fact, if you look at this picture, right, it looks very unusually large, whereas if you see this particular image, then you will realize that it is actually the image of the goddess Durga, miniature image, small image of goddess Durga sitting on the back of the lion sculpture. Now that is actually very strange, where the lion is so huge and goddess is depicted very small. All right, the open mouth of the lion, that is the representation of the role as a fierce and the favorite lion of goddess Durga. Okay, everyone. So this entire complex of the shore temple at Mahabalipuram, it has been declared as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, right everyone? And this will serve as the prototype of the Dravidian temple architecture and subsequently would be followed by the great Chola rulers as well. Okay, everyone. Now coming to the most celebrated temple constructed by the Pallava architects. This is the most celebrated temple by the Pallavas. Why so? Because it was situated in their capital city, Kanchipuram. When we talk about Kanchipuram, we can automatically remember the story of the destruction of Kanchipuram by Pulakeshin II, right? However, if we talk about another feature of Kanchipuram, currently we must have heard about the Kanzivaram silk. I hope everybody has heard. Kanzivaram silk is in fact related to the Kanchipuram only, because Kanchipuram and Kanzivaram are both the same. So here we have this temple constructed by Narasimhavarman II, also known as the Rajsimha, as we told. And in this particular temple, we have very extensive dimensions as compared to the shore temple, because a shore temple was simply an experiment, whereas this was an accomplishment. Which type of accomplishment? The accomplishment to show the grandeur and the extent of the prosperity of the Pallavas. That is why this temple was constructed massively and with the great details of the carvings and intricate stoneworks. It is basically situated in a rectangular courtyard surrounded by the peristyle compass and basically non-continuous series of the cells resembling the rathas. Now guys, if you look at the picture of that, okay, if you look at the picture, doesn't it look like the replication of the same rathas constructed by Narasimhavarman first? I hope you remember those pictures of Dharmaraj Rath, okay, Bhima Rath, Arjuna Rath, all those. So these look like the distinct structures, but they are basically interconnected to each other, and this entire temple is constructed in a very unique plan. Instead of the length of the temple, the width, that is the facade of the temple, is given much priority in the architectural placing. Similarly, if you look at the tower of the temple, I hope that you all remember that this type of the boxy roof, that was called as Vallabhi. And it is typically used here with the positioning of Amalak on the top of it as well as Kalash on the top of it. So we can say that probably certain features of this initial most structural temple by Pallavas, they were quite, you can say, quite atypical quite special because they would not be available in the subsequent temple styles. All right. Hello John, I'm absolutely good. So here I hope that you got the idea that this entire region of the capstone, right, this is basically the octagonal stone piece which is kept here, right, which is kept on the top of the temple. Now if you look at the other features, so main shrine has the 16-sided Shivlinga made in the black granite. The black granite Shivling is present here in the Kailashnathar temple of Kanchi. All right everyone. In fact, 2 sculptures of Lord Shiva are there which are holding the veena. You know, Alapini, right? Alapini veena is there. Alapini veena is basically the Shiv veena. Remember that there are the different types of the veenas, but the 2 veenas are most famous, Rudra veena and Saraswati veena. Lord Shiva, who is considered to be the manifestation of the divine word, divine music and divine arts, he is supposed to play the Rudra veena. Same Rudra veena is said to be played by the subsequent rulers in the upcoming periods. Now, unique feature of this particular temple, basically 58 Devi Kulikas or the mini shrines they have been constructed, and apart from that we also have the fresco, beautiful paintings called frescoes which are portrayed showing the various stories of Lord Shiva and his interaction with his wife goddess Parvati and the family, in fact the sons Ganesh as well as Kartikeya. So what is the meaning of fresco? Fresco and tempera, murals, all these are the different types of the wall paintings. Okay everyone. So these are basically the wall paintings. Now this can be a very important statement because UPSC may ask you that there are no wall paintings on any temples constructed by the Pallavas and Cholas. This will become a wrong statement. All right, this will become a wrong statement. In fact, we also have the inscriptions. On the wall of this temple, right? So these inscriptions or these paintings, they provide the additional significance to this temple. That is why historians have considered it very, very important. Then we talk about the Vaikuntha Perumal temple, probably the biggest temple which was constructed in the post Rajsimha period. Okay, built by Parameshwar Varman, or also known as Nandivarman II. And why is this temple important? Because this is probably the last amongst the temples constructed by the Pallavas which would be considered significant contribution to the architectural growth. What are the specialities? This temple has the Chaturasa Trital. Okay, Chaturasa Trital means the 3-story square design. 3-story square design is there, and not only that, this particular design is actually the significance, right? It is in the significance of Lord Vishnu's different forms: standing form, sitting form and reclining form. 3 different forms. So these are very crucial features related to the Pallava architecture. So I hope that most of you would be able to remember and recall these things because they are very crucial. Okay, and guys, this temple would be revered for being a Vishnu temple. That means the Alvar saints would be worshipping here in this temple. Nayanar saints would be revering, or they would be respecting the Kailashnathar temple of Kanchi. And Alvars and Nayanars, who are they, by the way? Alvars were the saints, the Bhakti saints who worshipped Lord Vishnu. Nayanars were the Bhakti saints who worshipped Lord Shiva. And they prevailed during the period of Pallava rulers and even in the subsequent times. Alright everyone. So I hope now this is also visible to everyone just behind me. Let me be a little bit on side. Okay. I hope that now everybody understood about the features of the Pallavas. Now let us move to the features of the Vijayanagar school of temple architecture, or the Vijayanagar school of the Dravidian style of temple architecture. What are the special features in that? Because the Vijayanagar style is actually the combination of the Cholas, Hoysalas, Pandyas, Chalukyas, all the features, all the aspects. In fact, this is also influenced by the Indo-Islamic style of Bijapur. Not only that, the entire basis would be Dravidian architecture, but there would be several manipulations, several changes on the basic plan that would give entirely a new structure, a new appearance to this temple architecture. In fact, the walls of the temples were decorated with the carvings and geometrical patterns. Not only that, we will also witness the presence of the mythical animals called as Yali. Then we have the monolithic rock pillars, right? Monolithic rock pillars apart from the Yali. Not only that, we also have the multiple mandapas. In fact, guys, UPSC had asked a question in 2018 Civil Services Prelims examination related to the Kalyana Mandapam. Not only Kalyana Mandapam, but also we have the several other additional structures which were added in the Vijayanagar period. Like what? Like we had the addition of Amma Shrine. Okay, Amma Shrine. Then we have the Raya Gopuram. Okay, Raya Gopuram. Then we have the Kalyan Mandapam. Okay, Kalyan Mandapam. All right. Then we have the secular galleries. Then we have the geometrical decorations inspired by the Islamic traditions on the temple wall. Okay, and last but not the least, we have the Yali, the presence of Yali on the pillars of the temple to decorate and to beautify its presence. Okay, everyone. So examples, we have the Vitthal Swami temple, we have the Virupaksh temple at Pattadakal, Virupaksh temple in Hampi, we have the Raghunath temple in Hampi, we have the Hazare Rama temple or Ramaswamy temple. All these are, in fact, Vidyadhar temple is also there, right? So all these temples, they have very typical, very special presence. Look at the tower of the Virupaksh temple. Tower of the Virupaksh temple. Typical Dravidian style, but with a little more defined neck, a little more defined narrow neck on the top. Okay, that is not there in the other Dravidian architecture. Usually in the Dravidian architecture we have the rectangular plan. Here it looks like built upon a square plan. Then guys, we have this very unique style of temple, right? Very unique style of temple called as the Vidyadhar temple, and this is dedicated to the Vidyaranya, Acharya Vidyaranya, the teacher of Harihar and Bukka, who was the inspiration behind the establishment of this empire. Now look at the pattern. This looks probably the combination of the Nagar, combination of the Dravidian, and in fact it is not even a proper combination. It is entirely different in the style, entirely different. You can see here, you can see this entire structure. It looks more like the design of a Chaitya, with the tower of a temple, Okay, now talking about the Nayaka school, in fact Nayak temple architecture, that also evolved. In fact, it evolved from the Vijayanagar only. Why? Who were the Nayakas? If you don't know the Nayakas, then remember that the Vijayanagar rulers, they had appointed, or in fact they had assigned the revenue collection okay, revenue collection roles and the armed forces, right, armed forces keeping role. Okay, so revenue collection as well as the armed force keeper roles both were assigned to the Nayakas. However, instead of salary, right, instead of salary or in lieu of the salary, they received the land grants. They got land grants or they got the territories. Okay, everyone. Now, when we talk about territories, they became the owners, in fact, the masters of their territories once the decline of Vijayanagar took place after the Battle of Talikota or Banihatti in 1565. After that, they would start evolving and developing their own style. As I told you that Vijayanagar also had the basis in the Dravidian architecture, but they had involved several other features and led to the great evolution in the Dravidian architecture. Similarly, the Nayakas would be adapting the features from the Islamic school and several other local features, but the grandeur and the entire mesmerizing appearance of the temple, that became splendid, that became simply outstanding because of the excessive decoration, use of bright colors, use of shiny frescoes, use of the long colonnaded pathways and the extraordinarily large Raya Gopurams constructed at the temple entrance. Right, everyone? So, all these features, they led to the construction of such temples. Look at this, construction of such temples. Can you tell me that this is not the tower of the main temple? This is simply the entrance tower. And look at the color combination, such bright and shiny and good looking color combination. All of that is constructed using the stones, nothing else. Okay, it looks like a handmade painting. And if you are not surprised yet, then look at this commendable work on the roof of this this passage. Okay, this pillared passage, where on every pillar you can see the image of Yali. All these are Yalis. Okay, Yalis. You can also see the stylized presence of the birds and animals to decorate the temple. And you can see the beautiful looking, colorful floral designs on the rooftop, and this is basically the example of making live fresco on the roof of this temple. Okay, everyone. So this actually makes the Nayaka temples, right, particularly the most beautiful example is the Meenakshi Amman temple. Okay, Meenakshi Amma temple, at Madurai in Tamil Nadu. That is the most beautiful example. So this actually gives the clear idea that how great would have been the construction of the temple in that period. All right, everyone. So I hope that the basic details of these stylized temple architecture methods and schools in the Dravidian style of architecture would be clear to everybody. In tomorrow's lecture, we would be doing what? Tomorrow's lecture, we would be doing about the Chola architecture. And just a second, everyone. Now, in Chola architecture, if we talk about, then here we will be able to, right, here we will be able to do this entire part separately, and tomorrow Chola architecture will be covered from beginning to the end. And if we say one thing, guys, I think voice is coming. Okay, sorry, my voice was getting echoed. So here if we talk about the different aspects of this program which I had told you in the beginning, remember that if you are preparing for the civil services, you need a very well curated and measured guidance, not any general approach but a very specific approach for your success that is required. This is why I urge to all of you that have a look on our P2I program, which is curated especially for the UPSC aspirants, keeping in the mind all of their requirements, all of their necessities, not only the syllabus but also the current affairs, practice questions, handwritten notes, mentorship, everything is taken care of. In fact, if you are able to clear the prelims examination, then even the mains examination is also taken care of by us, because we call our students to our campus, we provide them shelter, food and living along with the classes without any additional cost here in Delhi NCR. That's, I think, the most virtuous offering that anybody can even expect. So I respect this thing. Why so? Because I respect the decision that we have made to provide you the affordable education, and that is why I request to all of you that have a look on these P2I programs. If you are visiting the website, if you are visiting the application, then use this code ASR live while joining any courses and you will be having the maximum discount. In case, suppose if you are joining the P2I batches, you will be charged only rupees 29,999. That is all. And so guys, thank you so much for watching it. And I think I will be apologizing for a little bit disturbances that was caused due to the echo of the sounds, and I hope that does not get repeated. Thanks a lot for watching it. Take care. Jai Hind.